Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Utpala, and this is um, the Foundation Course 4 on Proof of Future Lives. And we're at class 4, and we're going to talk some more about what a person of Tsema is, what a person of accurate perception is. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I was trying to convince Zoom that my microphone works. And I can tell by the fact that the live translators are moving their lips that my microphone indeed works. So before we get started, um, let's just quickly set our motivation and so we can plant the most powerful seeds that we can right now. So just take a moment. Bring yourself in the Zoom room. Be aware of your body supported by your chair or your cushion. Feel breath as it leaves and enters your body. And now ask yourself, why did you register for this course? What is it that you hope to gain from learning the material that's covered in this course? Proof of future lives. It could be an intellectual understanding of these proofs. And it could be something deeper, higher. What is it we can use logic for? It's another ability, like learning how to meditate. It's a way to direct our mind to explore ideas about things that we cannot see, given by people we cannot see because they're no longer here. Ideas that if we can practice them sincerely with our whole heart and mind. They say we can break free from the cycle of suffering. Our motivation could be much higher than that. Could be to learn these things in our hearts, to practice these things so that not only we ourselves get out of the cycle of suffering, but we become a being who can see all things of all times and can benefit all living beings to bring them to this same state of being. And just think, today may my being here in this class be a direct cause to fulfill my motivation, whatever that may be. Sangye churan soki chuknam la jangchu partu dakni kyapsu chi daki chushe pe sunam ki jola penchir sangye juparsho sangye churan soki chuknam la Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishegi Pe Sunam Ki Jola Benchir Sange Druparsho Sange Turan Soki Chukdamla Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishegi Pe Sunam Ki Jola Penshir Sange Duparsho. Sashi Buki Jukshin Metok Tram Rira Blingshi Ninde Gempadi Sangye Shindu Mikde Owargi Rokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandala Kamniyatayami. So in the last class, there were a few questions in the chat that I didn't have time to address. And so I hope to do them quickly this morning before we get into the content for class 4. So Minchiet asked this. I wonder if nirvana is a state of mind where all the seeds are becoming very, very subtle, so that uh, neither of them, I'm taking to mean seeds for negative results, or seeds from positive results, or neutral results. I'm not sure what both of them would refer to. Where, uh, but anyway, that seeds could pull us to any direction, and therefore we're free from the suffering jail. So when we in the there's the 5 paths, right? The 5th path would be on the lower path. That's kind of confusing, isn't it? On the lower track would be nirvana, and on the higher track, it's Buddhahood. But regardless of whether we're talking nirvana or Buddhahood, but we can talk nirvana because nirvana is being free of mental affliction obstacles due to her having seen emptiness directly and realized the 4 Arya truths. The individual analysis, that's what it's called in the definition. So in so doing, on that 4th path, we're becoming familiar with what we saw on the 3rd path. We're becoming habituated to what we saw. And in that process of becoming used to what we saw, we are purifying negative seeds or negative potentials. We finally get to a point where we have removed all obstacles to being free of suffering. So all we have removed all seeds that could result in a suffering existence, of being stuck in a suffering existence. There's no more negative seeds. We've completely removed them. Now, when we talk about nirvana, there's the idea of nirvana with remainder and without remainder. But if we talk about the one with remainder, is like with the body still, this human body still, that you don't destroy the seeds for that body because those seeds have already ripened, right? The potential for this particular bag of bones has already been manifested. It's become real. And so that doesn't end. Eventually it does. And then there are no more negative seeds. Okay, I hope that helps. Then there was a question from a gentleman in Russia, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. So maybe someday someone can tell me. So when when a yogin, which is a male practitioner, meditative practitioner, directly perceives emptiness and becomes an Arya, and then enters the fourth of the five paths, uh, does he have 7 lifetimes remaining specifically within the human realm and the various form realms, or does he have a total of only 7 lifetimes across all realms? Uh, I I do not think I've ever heard anyone say it would be that there would be a lifetime in a realm other than human. And the reason that I think that it's correct that it would be a human realm, although I do not know. This is just my own Chepak, my own analysis. Whether it's a Tsema or not, whether it's accurate or not, I need to check. But because this particular existence, a human being, is the best possible existence to reach enlightenment or nirvana. And those 7 lifetimes are the path of habituation or the path of cultivation, as you say. Um, so that's why I think that it's probably in the as a human being, but I'm not sure. Um, I'll try and find out. And then we had another question from someone I think in Ukraine. How can we rejoice in self-existent things if they are suffering? I'm not sure if oh, I just realized that I've been copying these questions into what I thought was the chat, but it's actually I'm chatting with my AI, which I never turned on. So I apologize for that. I was trying to be helpful. Okay, how can we rejoice in self-existent things if they are suffering? Well, I'm a little bit unclear about what this question is really asking because there's no such thing as a self-existent thing. Um, there are things like if you are like me, uh, an ordinary person like me, everything I experience or see, um, it's I am under the influence of misunderstanding, and so it appears to me that everything is self-existent. I have to use my training, my education in these teachings to remind myself that things are not self-existent. But things do appear to me that way because I'm not enlightened. So in that sense, why rejoice in things that are appearing to me to be self-existent? Maybe that's the question. Um, and and if that's the question, I would say that the really cool thing about practicing these teachings, being on this path, is that we use what we have. We use the abilities we have. We don't have to wait until we're at a higher spiritual level before we can do things that are powerful, that create truly powerful seeds. We can create powerful seeds at the level we're at with the understanding we have. And how can we do that is by our motivation. If our motivation is very clear in our minds, for example, I want to reach a state where I'm completely and totally enlightened so that I can benefit all living beings on every planet. Or more specifically, if I'm offering a glass of water to my teacher appears to me to be self-existent. The glass of water appears to me to be self-existent. This act of giving, of offering the water, appears to me to be self-existent. If I offer a glass of water to my teacher, even though it all appears to me to be self-existent, coming from their own side, the water, the teacher, my act of making an offering. If I have the thought in my mind, none of these things are self-existent, even though they appear to me to be. And with this glass of water, then, because it has no self-existence, may the offering of this water be the end of thirst in all realms of existence. May this be the end. Then, with that kind of motivation, I'm planting a very powerful seed, right? Versus just like, oh, there's my teacher, and he looks thirsty, and he seems to be having kidney disease, so I better give him some water. It's a nice thing, it's a good thing. Someone who has a disease, to give them something that will help them. But we can make our actions at whatever level we are at be far more powerful and get us out of create the kind of seeds that will get us out of this realm of suffering more quickly. Okay, let's see. There's a couple more questions. Cool. Time is illusion that doesn't exist. The only truth is the moment. Well, we could debate about all that. But when we talk about seeds or something similar, we have a past and a future, and we fall into the trap again, which seems not the nature that the Buddha teaches in the Diamond Cutter Sutra. So for ordinary beings, for beings who are not awakened beings, not fully enlightened Buddhas, we see dependent arisings. We experience our experiences are dependent arisings. They come from of what we've done in the past. Now is uh, that is a narrative to explain people's experiences. And I think we're going to get to this today. So I'm gonna let us get there. And then if it's not addressed, then hopefully we can have the opportunity to talk about it further. Okay. Please repeat this section on the types of correct perception. Yeah, so the types of correct perception in general, there are two: direct correct perception and deductive correct perception. So direct correct perception are those perceptions that we have with our sense powers, our eyes, nose, mouth, ears, skin, and mind. And they're direct. You have a direct perception of my purple shirt if you are not blind or visually impaired in some way. Deductive correct perception is where we use analysis, we use reasoning, and we use deductive correct perception to have an experience of something that is hidden. There are two types of things that are hidden: normal, everyday hidden, like for an ordinary being. If you think back to those days when you were an ordinary being, the emptiness of this object is hidden to an ordinary being. It's not shouting out, I'm empty, I'm empty, I have no self-existence. It's not doing that. We can't touch that. We can't taste that. Can't hear it. No, if there's nothing, we have to use reasoning. And we can use reasoning if we find a teacher who can teach us properly, teach us well. And then the other kind of hidden is deeply hidden, which is the mechanisms or the workings of karma. Why is this shirt purple? Why is my shirt purple? Only an enlightened being knows the subtle workings of karma and can say, oh, that's because, it's 3 million lifetimes ago, you were sitting in a meadow and you saw a beautiful lilac tree with its purple blooms and its wonderful scent. And rather than keep it for yourself, you uh, you went and got a friend and brought them to come see this beautiful tree. So you shared this beautiful tree with purple flowers. And that's why your shirt is purple. We can't use reasoning to figure that out. How many million lifetimes ago? Uh, which meadow? Who was I? That many million lifetimes ago? What exactly did I do? We can't use logical reasoning to figure that out. Um, so we have to then rely on an authority, on someone who is seme, someone who is accurate. And that brings us to today. You share. Where'd you go? Hello, there you are. Zoom is being funny with me today. So I will just try to laugh. Okay, here we go. So we're going to talk more today about what it means to be a person of accurate perception, right? Seme kebu. We had this word previously. I gotta bring the chat back just in case there's a burning question. Okay. So seme kebu. Sema, of course, is accurate perception, and kebu is a person. And as we talked about earlier, this doesn't mean that the Buddha is a state of mind that is accurate, right? A state of mind can't be a person. A person can have a state of mind. And that's what we're talking about. A person who has the state of mind where they only have accurate perceptions. Now, this person, this enlightened being, has omniscience. They see all things in all times, in every moment, freshly. And every perception that they have of this really countless number of things is correct, is accurate. Only an enlightened being is a tseme kebu, is a person of accurate perception. Does that mean we can't trust our teacher, for example? That we can't trust someone who's not an enlightened being to share only the truth with us? In the practice of this path, in putting these teachings into practice, we learn so many things. There are so many aspects to these teachings, but one of them is, we know that everything we say and think creates a seed for a future common experience. So the more we practice, the more we understand that if we do not speak the truth as we understand it to be, we're creating a nasty future experience. We're creating a future experience of in the case of a teacher, for example, of and teaching and speaking something that's not accurate. We're creating a future experience of being deceived in spiritual matters by someone else. We're creating a teacher who's deceitful. And oh my gosh, no. I mean, no way. I don't want to create that kind of experience. So the more we practice, the more we keep ourselves from saying things that we do not know to be true without some sort of qualifier. Like when I said earlier, I haven't heard this, but I don't really know. I need to find out. I qualified, are the 7 lives after seeing emptiness directly in the human form or across all kinds of forms. So all that to say is that I think that, well, today if I can get there, we're going to get to tests for how to determine whether someone is whether the words or the writings of someone are accurate or not, in terms of like in sema prominent. So it is possible that we can trust that our teacher, like for me, Geshe Michael, is a person of accurate perception. And it's because of having gone through the kind of tests that I'll get to at the end. So it's possible that someone who's not a Buddha could be speaking truthfully to you, and that you can trust them as an authority. Are they Are they a person of Sema? Are they a person who every perception they have is accurate? Well, someone who's not a Buddha, that wouldn't be correct, right? Because only a Buddha, so we're taught, can see arisings or appearances and the emptiness of those appearances at the same instant, sees them together. No other kind of being can see that at the same moment. For us, if you're like me, you're either looking at appearances or you're in the direct perception of emptiness and you're looking at ultimate nature. You are experiencing ultimate nature. We can't do both at the same time. Only a Buddha can. So let's talk about what it is a Buddha sees. It's called Sikyul. Sikyul. You may have heard the word Chenrezi, which is the Tibetan translation of Avalokiteshvara, which is Sanskrit. And this is a deity that this is a deity who is sometimes depicted as having 1,000 arms, and they're all stretched out in every direction. And this deity is a bodhisattva who is, of course, the expression of bodhicitta, of the wish to become enlightened, to benefit all living beings. And this bodhisattva looks at all beings with love, the kind of love that is, I guess you could call it the Buddhist kind of love that wishes people to be happy. May you be happy. And so this bodhisattva acts to bring happiness to all beings. So within the name is Sikh, Chenrez Sikh. Sikh means to see. To see. It's the word that we use with well, it's the honorific form of the word to see. The other form that we're more familiar with is Tong, like Tong Lam, the path of seeing. Tong. So this is honorific, Sikh. So we know we're talking about a high being. And in this case, we're talking about an enlightened being. And Yul means object here. It can mean many different things, but here it means object. So what object does an enlightened being, or what objects do enlightened beings see? An enlightened being sees sees things directly. they don't use J-Pak Sema. When we talk about an enlightened being being a person of accurate perception, of those two types of accurate perception that I talked about at the beginning of class in answer to the question, it's only the first kind of accurate perception, direct accurate perception, not J-Pak Sema, not deductive accurate perception. Okay? An enlightened being doesn't need to deduce anything. There is nothing hidden to an enlightened being. To an enlightened being, everything is lungir. We talked about this the other day, is obvious. As obvious as the color of my shirt is to you if you don't have an eye problem. Everything. So no need to deduce. No analysis going on for an enlightened being. So there are two, it's kind of hard to talk about. It's not like two different things, but it's two things about what a Buddha sees. So there's two things about the objects that an enlightened being sees. And this will make sense, hopefully, in a moment. The first thing about what an enlightened being sees is where'd it go? There it is. The first thing is this one. Jinyepe Chu. Jinyepe Chu. Jinyepa means as many as there are. All of them. Not leaving out a single thing. Jinyepa. As many as there are. And Chu can mean many different things. Mostly it means dharma, as in the teachings of the Buddha. It also has a particular use in logic, but here it means phenomenon, things. So we could call this totality. All existing things. An enlightened being sees as many existing things as there are. And then the second thing about the objects that an enlightened being sees is jitawe shi. And jitawa means as it is, as they really are. So if we put them together, these two things together, an enlightened being sees all existing things as they truly are. Now, what does as they truly are mean? It refers to their nature, their ultimate nature. And we commonly talk about these two things as appearance and the emptiness of that appearance. So an enlightened being sees all of us on the Zoom call and sees the fact that all of us on the Zoom call are free of any self-existent quality, any self-existent nature. So again, an enlightened being is the only kind of being who can see appearances and the emptiness of the appearance at the same time. And they call it Chula Chushapatar. They call it like water poured into water. Like water poured into water. There's no distinction. It's not like, oh, I'm putting two things together. It's both are arising at the same moment. We're the ones who divide it into that which we experience through our senses, and that, and actually when we're in the direct perception of emptiness, we are perceiving it through our mental sense power directly. But we divide it into a positive thing, an appearance of something, pen, and into a negative, an absence, a lack, the lack of a self nature to this thing. So to an enlightened being, and only to an enlightened being, do those two, what would you call it? I guess aspects of things arise in the same moment. Like water poured into water. So we talked about previously 5 different kinds of perceptions that are not accurate, right? We called them, did I not write this down? No, I didn't. Oh, well. They're Samans. I'm sorry. One of the 5 was called Cheshe. Cheshe. And this one is, if we remember in our definition of an accurate perception, what is the definition? It was Sardu Milua Rikpa. It was a fresh Sardu Milua, unmistaken Rikpa, a state of mind. So this word fresh in the definition is what makes, to the lower schools, she, and not an accurate perception. So the lower schools say that recollection is not an accurate perception. That it has to be a fresh perception. And we defined recollection as perceiving something which we have perceived before. So if you now close your eyes and you and I say, what color is my shirt? You have a mental image of purple in your mind, and that's a recollection. That is perceiving something which you have perceived before. And that is, according to lower schools, is not an accurate perception. But the question comes up, well, wait a minute. An enlightened being, in the first moment of being an enlightened being, perceives every object in the universe just the way they are. And then every moment, they're seeing everything in the universe just the way they are. And it's not just the things that exist right now in this instant, but of all instants of time, all past moments, all future moments. You know, the past is not like some place where a thing has one past, right? It's if we think about times, if we think about time as a string of moments tied together in our by our minds, individual moments that we link together, there's like a whole bunch of those moments are in the past. We tend to think of it as like some one place, but it's not. It consists of countless moments, and then the future also countless moments. So not only is an enlightened being seeing infinity of objects, but those objects as they existed in all times, just as they are. So how is it then that the second moment of omniscience is not a recollection? How can we say the second accurate perception of a being who is omniscient is somehow different from the first moment of perception of an enlightened being who has omniscience? What do you think? Sounds like a conundrum, right? Yeah, take a sip of water. Into infinity. Well, the clue is sardu, freshly, fresh, new. Each perception each perception of an enlightened being is fresh, it's direct, it's immediate. So there's no problem. So now we're going to talk about the 3 tests for accuracy. How can we determine whether what someone is saying is true or not? And this is called chepa sum. Chepa sum. Chepa means to examine or to test. And sum means 3. So there's 3 tests for checking what someone says. So when the Buddha says, your shirt is purple because you were sitting in a meadow with a tree with purple flowers millions of years ago, there are 3 tests we can do. And we're going to explore these tests through a quotation of the Buddha. And this quotation is Jimpe Longchu Trim Ke De. Sorry. Jimpe Longchu Trim Ki De. Jimpa, here it's just spelled slightly differently. Jimpa and Jimpa. This spelling, it basically means the same thing, giving, right? When it's spelled like this, it refers to the first of the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva. So giving, longche, sorry, longche, that means possessions, things you, basically it means, or literally it means things you enjoy. But it's things you have, all your stuff. Trim is short for sultrim, which is the second of the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva, which refers to morality or ethics. Ki means by, through, and de means happiness. And this is a very famous quotation of Shakyamuni Buddha. Through giving, you will have possessions. through morality, you will have happiness. So he's speaking about karmic causes and results, right? If you give to other people, you will have the future experience of having people give things to you, of having things. If you keep your morality, you will have the future experience of being happy. I mean, generally speaking, seeds ripen in a future life. Most of the seeds we plant will either ripen in our next life or some life after that. If we use what we learned in the course on karma, if we can make our seeds as powerful as we possibly can, in other words, if we act and speak and think using wisdom, using the knowledge that realizes that everything that we do creates a future experience, that nothing has its own existence from its own side. If we can plant seeds with wisdom, it is possible they can ripen in this lifetime. That's why it is possible that someone who practices the Diamond Way can become enlightened in this lifetime. So this statement by the Buddha, if we are generous, we will have possessions. If we are ethical, we will have happiness. We have to go through 3 checks. And the Buddha himself said, don't take what I say as truth. You must check it. You must test it. So what's the first test? The first test is Lunsum ki Nöpa. I have to move the chat over a little. There we go. Lunsum bi Nöpa. So Lunsum, that's referring to a direct, accurate perception, and Lunsum Sema. Lunsum, direct, accurate perception. Ki. So here, this word is this means the same thing, by or through. It's spelled differently than this one. This was with a ka. This one is with a ka. Slightly different sound. And then we're going to have it again with a slightly different spelling. And those are all 3 of the spellings of this word. And how the word is spelled depends on what word comes immediately before it. So for you who are interested in the Tibetan language, that's a little grammar tip for you. So, okay. Lunsum gi minupa. Gi, by or through. Me, that's a, word, that's a negative particle. all the negative particles are ma, mi, min, me. Some of these words can also mean other things, but that's okay. Like ma, we're going to have later today, meaning something else. Me can also mean human being, but when they're negative particles, this is what you're going to find. And then ne pas. Ne pas. Generally, you will see this word used to mean to harm or to hurt. In logic, it means to refute, to disprove. And in logic, when you disprove something, you're blowing that thing out of the water. Whatever someone said, consider well, how does that one go? Oh, I always speak it wrong, so I'm not going to speak it at all. Um, the one about fruit and colors. Oh, all fruit is yellow. Someone says, all fruit is yellow. And then you say, oh, so I guess an orange is yellow. An orange, the fruit, the citrus fruit. No one's laughing. No one found it funny. So anyway, by saying, oh, so I guess an orange is yellow, you've completely disproved, you've blown away the claim that all fruit is yellow. Because there's an orange, and the orange is orange, not yellow. So in logic, we're completely, it's not just, hurting or scratching or, like doing a little damage. It's like completely blowing away, completely destroying. So putting this together, this first test is what's being said is not refuted by a direct, accurate perception. So someone says something that obviously to ordinary people who are having direct, accurate perceptions most of the day long. If you say to us, all fruit is yellow, all we have to do is pull out an orange and say, no, not accurate. So that would be failing the first test. The second test is J'ai pas qui ne pas. J'ai pas qui ne pas. And if we were sitting in a classroom together, I would ask you to translate this because we just had all the words. But we're not sitting in the class. We're separated by Zoom and by a language barrier. So I'll just tell you what it means. JPOC. JPOC It stands for JPOC SEMA, which means a deductive accurate perception, right? Airtight reasoning. Yay, Wanwu. Not disputed by deductive accurate perception. Thank you. Ki means by, and nupa we just had, to refute or dispute. I like that. Dispute it. So JPOCs are, direct, accurate perceptions. Those are pretty easy, right? We just look, we just smell, we just hear, we just taste. We just, experience the thought in our mind. But JPOC, SEMA, reasoning. Reasoning is more challenging. We tend to think that we humans are very reasonable people. That unlike other forms of life, we have logic. Our brains can use reasoning. And look at the world that we've built, the things that we've created. If you accept the story that we were once all cave people, living in caves, and I don't know, using rocks, eating raw dead meat, to now. I mean, we've built things, we've created medicines that cure people's illness. We've been to another planet. We've developed agriculture to grow food. We've taught our children so that they can, so that our whole species can advance, continue to progress. We have done a lot of really cool things using reasoning. These things didn't just happen by accident. We figured things out. But we also can do it really poorly, especially when we're talking about other people. We tend to assume things about other people, and we base our reasoning on these assumptions, and we get into big trouble. Like, the reason we have wars is because people are really lousy at logic. They're basically making up things about other people, being upset about other people because of the thing they made up about them, and then thinking that by killing them, things are going to be okay. Like, there's not only do we have thousands of years of experience of war being an illogical action, but if we just think about it for a second, if someone is doing something I don't like, does hitting them over the head, is that going to result in them doing what I want them to do? What? Has that ever really worked with you? I mean, my father spanked me as a child, hit me with a board. And yes, I behaved, but I wasn't happy about it. That didn't make me love him. It made me very angry at him, and it made me actually, to confess, I was a I was a pretty stinky teenager because he hit me so much. So I was I was rude to him, and in other words, he didn't get the result he wanted, which was a nice, well-behaved little girl. It doesn't happen that way. That's not the cause. So, that's like the extreme example of a result of uh, lousy reasoning. But we do it all the time. Not all the time. We do it frequently with other people. Um, anytime we have difficulty with another person, check our deductive reasoning. Just check it out. What what links am I making? What assumptions am I making? That's where the difficulty comes from. So anyway, if we had good reasoning, the kind of reasoning that brings us uh, medicine that cures illness, then we use that kind of reasoning when we investigate a statement. Can we destroy? Can we refute what was said? So we haven't. I'm sorry, not contradicted or not uh, refuted, disputed by good, accurate reasoning. If what the Buddha said is true, that by giving you have possession, by the second one just popped out of my mind, by being moral, you have happiness. If that is true, which if you are a Buddhist, if you have taken refuge, you theoretically believe in, we'll never be able to have or create an airtight, accurate, logical reason why those statements are not true, why those statements cannot be true. We haven't proved anything yet. We're just going through the tests and how you would use the test. The third test is Ngachi Mingel. Ngachi Mingel. Nga means this sound can have different meanings with different spelling. With this spelling, with a sa at the beginning, it means before, earlier. Chi, again, another sound that we hear a lot in the Tibetan language. With this spelling, with a pa. It means later, after. Me means not. And I've written this as Mingel because of this little character here comes into contact with an open vowel, it turns into an N. Mingel when we pronounce it. And gel means to contradict. So ngachi mingel, it doesn't contradict itself. Gel, it's not. It's not, and itself here means Buddha's statements. Of all the Buddhist statements, that statement doesn't contradict or isn't contradicted by something the Buddha said earlier. Nothing that the Shakyamuni Buddha ever said ever contradicts anything he said later. It doesn't even have to be directly about that statement of those karmic correlations between giving and having possessions and being ethical and being happy. Tsongkhapa said that in the 100,000 pages of scripture that exist, the teachings of the Buddha in the Kangyur, which basically means Buddha's speech, that Tsongkhapa said we'll never find a statement on one page that's contradicted by a statement on another page. That the more that and deeper that we study these teachings, the more we will find that that's true. The more evidence we have that that's not true. Initially, it may seem like he said things that contradict other things. But the more we study, the more we understand. And so here's a quote as an example of something that appears to be contradictory to the Buddha's teachings on ethics. And that's Ma Tangpa Ni Seja Shi. Mother, Ma is mother, Pa is father, Ni is just a little it's just a little grammatical particle. I think it could be meaning are here, as in is or are. Seja. This is a word that's used to describe in my language, they call it livestock. Animals that are bred to be killed to eat. Like cows are bred in these pig farms of cows. And they only breed them and keep them alive so that they can be killed and turned into meat. Same with chickens. There's a lot of big chicken farms. So seja means like someone who should be killed. Xing is a continuative particle, and it means and, which means basically it's just telling us there's more in the sentence. But this part of the sentence is bad enough. Ma dang pa ni sheja. Kill your mother, kill your father. They're worthy of being killed. Now, does that sound like something an enlightened being, one who wants to benefit all living beings in all places? Does that sound like something an enlightened being would say? Well, an enlightened being did say that. So there must be something going on, something we have to consider. And that something is called Chang'e. Chang'e. Chang means figurative or needs to be interpreted, to be understood. Nge means literal. So Trong would be the meaning of the words he used is different than what we automatically think. There's some other meaning. Enge means the words mean what they are. It's literal. It's literal. Geshe Michael calls Trong the Buddha didn't mean it that way. Enge as what the Buddha really meant. I'm sorry, that he means what he said. He means what he said. Chang, he means something other than what he said. Nge, he means what he said. So there are rules about interpreting whether the Buddha is speaking literally or figuratively. And there are 3 of those rules. So we've got 3 rules or 3 tests for whether a Buddha speech is accurate, right? Testing for accuracy, which we just went through, right? It's not disputed by a direct, accurate perception, and it cannot be disproved by a correct, accurate deduction. And the third meaning, it's not internally inconsistent. Those were the 3 tests for accuracy. Now what we're doing is the 3 rules for determining whether what the Buddha said was what he meant or not, whether it's literal or figurative. Gongxi. true thought. What was the Buddha's true thought? So, you see this between people who, like, for example, will flatter someone, uh, and they're doing it not to be kind necessarily, but because they want to get something. Oh, you are such a good cook. Yeah, you're the best chef I know. And, and you might, whether you think they're a good cook or not, you really need someone to cook for this big party you're having. And you want to flatter them so your real intent is to get them to say, oh, well, I'd love to cook for you. So your intent is to flatter them into doing something for you, not to rejoice in their ability to cook well. So that's the first rule is uh, what's the true intent? So if we think about what the Buddha said, kill your mother, kill your father. He continues on to say, destroy the place where you came from and all the people you grew up with. He doesn't mean that. He means give up attachment to the things you're really attached to. That doesn't mean get rid of them. Certainly doesn't mean to kill them. It means this is mainly advice he gives to people who are about to become ordained. Give up attachment to this life. It's to help us reach renunciation, right? We must respect our parents. We cannot kill them. Killing our parents, we are taught in the teachings, will result in being born in the very next lifetime in the hell realms for a really long time. Incredible suffering. So he must have had something else in mind. It was like a shock statement. It's something that no one ever forgets. Once you hear that the Buddha said this, you never forget it. It's shocking. Once you understand his true intent was to help lead you towards to say something so shocking that you examine, how attached you are to people. So the second rule, I have to speed up, is where to go. There you are. Nula nuje. That's hard to say. Nula nuje. Nu means the way things really are. Or this phrase here, nu poineso, the way things really are. So nu means reality. Reality. And we had nu before. That's this nu that we said was disputed or refuted. And J just means does. So the second rule is, does it contradict reality? Nula nuje. Does it contradict what we experience, what we know? Like if I said, okay, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm being literal. I love this color red. This is my favorite color, red. And you go, what are you talking about? That's purple. It's not red. You know that I'm being figurative. I'm not speaking the truth, right? That test, it contradicts your reality. It's purple, not red. And then the third is, was there Gopa? Where did that go? There it is. Gopa. Was there a compelling need? A compelling need. Some purpose of why the Buddhists spoke figuratively. So why did he say, kill your mother, kill your father? His compelling need was he needed people to remember to not be attached to things of this world. You still love your mother, you love your father, but that doesn't mean you're so attached to them that you think they have qualities that they don't really have, right? They are empty of any self-existence. Or when he taught, when he first taught, the turning of the wheel, and he said that things do exist. He was being figurative. And the compelling need to say that things have a nature of their own is that if he came right out and said nothing has a nature of its own, that the people in the audience would have freaked out. Either they would have become nihilist and think nothing exists, or they would have gone insane. And I have a great story, but I can't tell you because we don't have time. It's not a great story, it's a sad story. So we don't have time for me to get to the very last thing, which is and it is a question on your homework, which is the two reasons why Master Dignaga used the word turn, Jirpa, Semar Jirpa. The Buddha became, I can't even finish my sentence. So please remember to dedicate our time here together, our work together, and I'm so grateful for the live translators. I'm so grateful for your participation, your interest in these teachings. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Remember to dedicate. Don't let these seeds disappear.